What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Inside Inter Miami. I'm your host, Andre Fernandez, Deputy Sports Editor at the Herald, joined as always by my colleague, Michelle Kaufman, Inter Miami beat writer. Special episode this week, everybody, because the man, the GOAT, the man, he not only came back, they flipped the switch, 2 goals and a big win over Philadelphia as they continue to pad their lead. We're going to talk about Messi's big return. It's like he never left. Pistolero also with an assist. He scores himself late in the game, and this team is just, on a roll, as we've talked about plenty of times. Now they brace for Atlanta. A couple of road games coming up, Atlanta and New York City FC. So we'll have an update on Messi's status for that game. We'll have an update on who might be in, who might be out against Atlanta. Busquets and Aviles suspended. Martinez and Allen injured. Who's going to fill that back line? They gave up an early goal. They like falling behind early and making up for it. They did it again last week. So we're going to talk about the backups. Ben Hakramaski also signing a big contract extension. Michelle spoke to him. So we'll have a clip from that. And also we'll take a look at the Supporters Shield standings with 6 games left, the seemingly comfortable lead that Inter Miami has right now. But before anything, because Messi's back, we promised this weeks ago, raise your cup, Michelle. Here we go. Some yerba mate. This is the yerba mate episode.
Some yerba mate. This is the yerba mate episode. I'm sorry, I'm going in and out. Here we go. There it is. There's my yerba mate. I think we should take our first sip. Right. This is in honor of the GOAT, of Leo Messi returning to the field. We are celebrating with our first ever yerba mate. Here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. What do you think?
It's interesting. It's kind of like, it's funny because it smells a little like, chamomile tea-ish, kind of,
Yes, it's tea. It has that, it's tea. It's a bitter. It's a little bit more bitter tea, but it's tea.
Yeah. So like you've mentioned before on the show, it's supposed to have some good, antioxidants, some good qualities. It's an energy.
A lot of digestive things. Yes.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be all natural. It's supposed to be good for you. Hey, look, if Messi drinks it and all those other guys drink it, it's got to be good. And if you want to buy the kit, you can go to an Argentine grocery store like I did, Graciano's, and here we go.
This is where Amanda. It's called Amanda.
I just disappeared.
Amanda is the brand.
We got the Amanda brand.
Yeah.
If you go to a grocery store, they sell the bags. They sell the bags of the yerba mate. Yeah. They sell the cups separate, and you can get the bombilla, which is the straw separate, the metal straw, which has a filter in the bottom. Or you buy the kit, the whole kit. Right. The kit comes with a bag of yerba mate, the cup, and the bombilla for $30. At least that's what I paid. A little much, but I figured it was worth it. And the bombilla is this straw. You can't just put a regular plastic straw in there. Right. This is a special straw.
It has the filter.
With a filter. Has a filter in the bottom, and it filters the tea. I don't know if you can see it a little bit there. Turn your cup a little so everyone can see what it looks like. It looks like dirt. To be honest, it looks like we put a bunch of dirt and twigs into our cup and put some hot water, and now we're drinking it. And that is basically what it is, but it's healthy. Right. It's healthy dirt and twigs. And Messi drinks it, so we're going to drink it. Luis Suarez drinks it too.
Right. It looks worse than it tastes, and it looks worse than it smells. It actually smells good. It tastes good, but it may the appearance may be a little off-putting for some people, but go for it. Trust me, it's worth it once you do. So
it's tea. It's a bitter. Right. It's a just more bitter. It's a more bitter tea. So anyway, this is in honor of the return, and there is a lot there's a lot to unpack here in today's episode. I mean, we're joking here about the mate, but truly, Lionel Messi to come back from, he had not played with this team since June 1st, all of June, July, August, and September. So he had not played, or for half of September. So June, July, August, and half of September. 3.5 months is the last time he played for this team. 3.5 months ago is the last time he played with this team. And overall, he hadn't played since July 14th because he played Copa America and then he got hurt in the final. So he had not been on the field at all for 2 months. He had not been on the field with this team for 3.5 months. And yet he comes in como si nada, right? Como si nada, like nothing. What do you mean? Layoff? What layoff? The guy comes in, scores, it looked like Miami was in trouble at the beginning, to be honest. Philadelphia scored in the first 2 minutes. It was like, Messi's back, and now the team is turning into garbage, making jokes. But seriously, it looked a little scary at the beginning. And then he comes to the rescue. He scores not 1 goal, 2 goals in the span of 5 minutes, and then also gets the assist on Luis Suarez's goal, and plays 105 minutes after not having played at all for 2 months, after not having played for this team for 3.5 months. And then he comes in, plays 105 minutes, scores 2 goals, and has an assist. I mean, who does that? Honestly, who does that? We thought when we talked, Andres, last week, we're like, oh, maybe they'll ease him in, maybe 30 minutes, maybe 60 minutes. No. This guy goes in and plays 105 minutes, scores 2 goals, and has an assist. Just another office.
Yeah.
Lionel Messi.
Like nothing. You know what? I'm gonna keep sipping this because I want to be able to play 105 minutes of pickleball, but this is probably gonna help. So I want to do that. So, like nothing.
Unbelievable, right?
It's unbelievable. No. This is why they're like ageless wonders. Him and Suarez both. I mean, 2 37-year-olds. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, Tata was asked afterward, just curious, why did you left both of them in the whole game? Why did you do that? I mean, these are 2 older guys, 37 years old, and Messi was coming off injury. Why did they play so long? And Tata just said, look, these guys are different. These guys are playmakers that when they're in good form and they feel good, you don't take them off the field. And he said, look, let me just say, if I had taken them out and Philadelphia ends up scoring and we tie, you would be asking me, why did I take them out? Since I left them in, you're asking, why did I leave them in? He said, I left them in because look who scored, who participated in that goal, in the final goal. That was those 2 same guys. And those guys are the ones who made it 3-1. At 2-1, it's still a little dangerous. The other team can tie it up. He said, look who scored the 3rd goal. It was Suarez with an assist by Messi, which, by the way, Messi could have scored there. He could have probably scored there and had a hat trick, but he passed it off to his buddy Suarez, who had an even clearer shot. And of course, he finished because that's what a pistolero does. He finishes.
That's right.
He does. And so, Tata said, look, these 2 guys are game changers. And you don't take them out unless there's a reason to take them out. And I didn't see a reason to take them out. So there they were.
No, absolutely. And again, it's funny that here we go again, another game where the other team strikes first and quickly too, not even within a minute. Mikhail Ure comes in, he scores, makes a great control of the ball and score. Just got it past the keeper. And, you're thinking, I mean, even the announcer said it, like, this was supposed to be Messi's return. What's going on? This is supposed to be Philly's night. This is supposed to be their night. But 20 minutes later, they kind of settle in. Bam, get the first couple of goals there. And Messi, clinical finishes like always. The first one, the way he can control the ball. The second one, just on the left foot off the assist, just was beautiful again. Just adds to it. Just like flipping a switch. Just comes back and he's just himself
and just
again.
When he comes back, it's just the way that they play. They have been playing well without him. They have. But when he comes in, there is a different element of how, especially Tata said, especially from minute 15 to 30 of that game, there were 30 minutes there that he was just really happy with how they played. And which 30 minutes it is. When they were just moving the ball so fluidly, it was beautiful to watch. It really was, to see how they were moving the ball around, how they were getting the ball from the midfield to the forwards and side to side. And of course, Jordi Alba, I mean, we don't talk about him enough, honestly. Jordi Alba, if we go back, and maybe I will go back and look at how many of their goals are started from the left side versus how many of the goals are started from the right side. Jordi Alba is involved in so many of the goals this season. Even when he doesn't score them, he's the one who crosses it in from the left. So, to watch those 4 former Barcelona teammates, it is like watching, an older version of those Barcelona players come to life. It's like they have telepathy. It's like the way they know where each other are going to be. And, Jim Curtin, the Philadelphia coach, said afterward that he said, I know that we lost and everything, but this is still a valuable lesson for my players, especially my young players, to see two things. One, how these stars on Miami, he didn't say as old as they are, I'm saying that part, at the stage of their career that they're at, how competitive they still are. They want to win every ball. They want to win every game. He said their competitiveness and how seriously they're taking these games at this stage of their career is something that Jim Curtin pointed out. And the other thing was, he said the decision making, and the decision making is what is hard to teach, or maybe even impossible to teach, which is, they get in position. And then what Jim Curtin said is they slow the game down in their minds. They somehow slow it down and they observe what's happening, and they know exactly where to pass it, how to pass it, and who to pass it to. And that is what is so difficult for most players. Even other good players, even good players on this team, on other teams that you see around the world, in MLS, everywhere else around the world, there are good players. And then there is the level that these guys are at, and they are a notch above. Even if you are a novice and don't know that much about the game, when you watch them play, the way they make decisions, how quickly and how accurately and precisely they pass the ball, that is what is remarkable to see. It's not just the numbers. And I am going to throw out a couple of numbers real quick. Lionel Messi, in 13 games, 13 league games, he has scored 14 goals and has 14 assists. Let's repeat. A ver, 14 goals, 14 assists in 13 games. That is crazy. And Suarez, 17 goals in 21 games.
And for those of you, and for those of you wondering, that's less than half of the games Inter Miami's played. They played 28 games this season. So we're talking less than half the season, and he is in the top. Was he in the top 5 in scoring and assists?
Yes, and let me throw one more out there. I did a little research for this show. All-time goals for Inter Miami in the team history. I know the team isn't that old, but in the team history, right now, Gonzalo Higuain and Leo Campana are tied for all-time leading goal scorers with 29 goals each, okay? Higuain scored 29 goals. It took him 70 games to get there, 7-0. Campana has 29 goals. It took him 93 games to get there. Lionel Messi, 27 goals in 30 games. I will repeat, 27 goals in his first 30 games for Inter Miami. He is two away from the club record held by Higuain and Campana, who took 70 and 93 games to get to those numbers. Let's take a moment to digest.
Let's take another sip. Let's take another sip.
With some mate. Let's take another sip to digest those numbers.
It's
amazing.
It's like having Jordan. It's like having Jordan and Magic. It's like having Jordan and Magic, and these guys aren't even in their prime anymore necessarily at 37. And it's still staggering. But I go back to you have these two superstars. You have the greatest player, arguably, maybe other than Maradona, some would say, in Argentina history, and you have one of the greatest players, if not the greatest player in Uruguay's history, on the same team. But them carrying what you said before, them carrying. It's not an international game they're playing. They're playing a pro game, but they're in a league that is not in the top tier of the world in that consideration, maybe not the competition level, but they care enough. You see it. You see it in the way they react, the way when they score, how they go to teammates, how they celebrate, all of that.
Like how they yell at the refs. You see
how they yell at the refs, right?
They get. You see how animated Luis Suarez gets. I mean,
right.
These guys, they really care. And that, to me, even from the beginning of when Messi got here, that is maybe what impressed me the most is that these guys could be on vacation if they wanted to be. Right. Let's face it, they really could. They could have come over here with their families and said, isn't this wonderful? We're in South Miami and we can go, have an asado with our family and drink some mate around those, around the living room with our friends. No, they are taking this seriously. They really are taking this seriously. They're playing like it. They're acting like it. And they are inspiring their teammates. When their teammates, and they say it time and again, Robert Taylor said last week that the thing that impresses him the most about Leo Messi is that he wants to win every little thing they do in practice. When they have a drill, he wants to win the drill and be the best. When they have a small-sided game in the practice, just amongst themselves, whatever team is Messi's on, Messi wants to win, and he plays to win every little thing that he does. And Robert Taylor said that inspires all the other players because they're thinking, wow, if this guy who has already accomplished everything, if he still cares about this dumb little drill that we're doing on a random Wednesday, then we need to care because he's the GOAT, he's the best, and he cares, so we need to care. So it really is amazing what we are seeing. I hope that the fans who watch these games are realizing, because it's going to be short-lived. We're talking about a window of, this year and next year, and then it's going to go away, and people should take advantage and enjoy during this window because what we're seeing really is historic. It really is.
It really is. And speaking of that, I guess, Michelle, let's talk about Messi's status for these road games coming up. It sounds like he is going to make both trips. Sounds like he's going to be there to play in both. And Tata Martino had something to say about that. Let's take a look at that clip here from training.
Para mañana, ¿quién está disponible, quién no está disponible? Dame una lista de los lesionados y también si esperas que Leo va a jugar, va a ser de titular o ¿qué tú crees?
Bueno, el equipo lo determinaremos después del entrenamiento de hoy porque recién tuvimos el entrenamiento de ayer donde trabajaron diferenciados y nos queda el entrenamiento de hoy para definir el equipo. Descartado, bueno, los que están suspendidos y David Martínez.
¿Noah? ¿Y cómo está Noah?
No, perdón, Noah también porque está con el protocolo de concussion, pero él está bien. La verdad que está bien, sin ningún problema, pero como está dentro del protocolo, no puede estar en el partido en Atlanta.
¿Y Leo cómo salió del equipo? ¿Salió bien?
Bien, terminó bien, cansado, obviamente. Son los primeros 90 minutos después de mucho tiempo, pero terminó muy bien.
He says cansado. Okay. I would be cansado too after 105, but he's Messi. He's not me, obviously.
Yeah. Tata, I asked him about what's Leo's status for the next game. Does he think, is he going to start? Is he going to play? What does he think? And how does he think he came out of the last game? That was part of it. He said that he came out of the last game fine, that yes, he was understandably tired, but that he felt good and that he seemed like he was fine and that he will travel. He mentioned that he's going to travel to both games, to Atlanta and to New York. He mentioned that during the interview this morning. And he said that, that he expects that he will play, but he just doesn't know how much. Everything is going to be determined after the training, which was Tuesday morning. And then he also said that the other players that are going to be missing are the two suspended players, which is Sergio Busquets and Toto Aviles. Surprise, surprise, Toto Aviles with another yellow. So he is collecting cards, like I mentioned, the way I collect Hallmark cards. Anyway, he may be surpassing me. So those two are out with suspension. And then Noah Allen is doing fine. He was actually training Tuesday morning on the side by himself, but he's on concussion protocol. He stays out for, I think he would be available to be for Saturday's game at New York, but he will be out for the Atlanta game while he's on the concussion protocol for cautionary reasons. And then David Martinez, the starting center back, will also be out with a groin injury. So that's the injury update from Tata and the information that Messi, is expected to be available for the Atlanta game and for the New York game. But the question is, how much do they play? Because he expanded on it later in the interview that it's a short week with 3 games in 1 week, and 2 of the games are road games. So they are they played on Saturday night. Now they're traveling Tuesday. They play Wednesday. Then they would come back home late Wednesday night after the game, and then they fly out again Friday to play Saturday. So it's a busy week. Messi did play 105 minutes, so they have to see how he's feeling. What would you do? Would you play him against Atlanta? How much would you play him against Atlanta with the New York game coming up?
I mean, I would have to know how he bounces back. And then I think that's the biggest thing. Like you said, how does he bounce back from that 105 minutes? He said he was tired a little bit, but that's normal. I'm saying more just in physical shape, like from the injury, from everything. How did he look 48 hours after? Is he moving well? Does he move kind of the way he does? And then at that point, I probably would be a little judicious about his playing time, only because of the short 2-game window here. And you got to look at, and they do, big picture. This team has a comfortable lead right now, seemingly comfortable lead. You don't want to take games for granted, but you kind of have to factor in the big picture here and how much do you want to burn him out now as opposed to down the road when we get to the postseason, of course.
And let's not forget it's an artificial turf. Let's not forget that that's an artificial turf stadium, which for Luis Suarez is also, an issue. Suarez is also going to. Tata said that both of them will travel to both games. But remember that it's an artificial turf field, so there is a little bit more of a chance for an injury. And for someone like Suarez with the knee issues, that hard surface is harder on the knee than grass. Right. So the New York game, while it is in a baseball stadium, which don't even get me started on that, but they are building a new stadium out there, but it's not ready yet. So they play at Yankee Stadium in the outfield. It's kind of an unusual look for a soccer field to be in the outfield of a stadium. The sight lines are not very good for the fans. However, at least the outfield is grass. So the New York City game is played on grass, even though it's a baseball stadium and it looks weird. It is on grass. The beautiful Atlanta Mercedes-Benz Stadium is beautiful, gorgeous, has all the bells and whistles, but it is on artificial turf. So that may also factor into the decision of how much the two of them play. And, you look at someone like Leo Campana, he didn't even get in to the last game. Robert Taylor did not get in to the last game. Those are 2 quality players who didn't even get a 1 minute off the bench in this game against Philadelphia. So I'm thinking that, some of these guys who didn't play much will get a chance to play against Atlanta. And, I think Messi will probably want to play. Whether he starts, I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, well, and also from their perspective, the guys that didn't play, these games like right now, these next 2 are that opportunity. You got to keep those guys also in game shape and fresh to have that depth later on that you're going to need in the postseason. So this is an opportunity also for them to do that in these games and kind of balance it out. It's like when a team is up big and puts the backups in and has them play, because you never know if you're going to need them later on.
Especially with this team, there's a lot of injuries. There's a lot of injuries, and things happen, and guys get yellow, and guys get yellow cards. Guys get yellow cards, and then they get another one, and then they're out for the next game. Right. So all of these guys, the depth of the team is really one of the things that needs to be talked about. The team has been deep, and they have lost. If you would have told me that Messi was going to miss 19 games and that they would still be in this position, they've been missing really good players, and the other guys have stepped up when they've had to, whether it be Ian Frey, Kremaski, you're talking about, these guys, Noah Allen, guys have stepped up, Yannick Bright, guys have stepped up who were not the big superstars coming into the season. And that is going to be critical now at the end of the season as well.
Remember, we were talking about it being almost like a safety net, like them being in first place. Like, what if they drop a few spots, but not completely out of the playoff picture? They have done the complete opposite. They're not only in first, they're running away with it right now. And but let's talk. Kremaski is one that you mentioned, as we wanted to get to him and his contract extension. You spoke to him at training. Let's see what Benja had to say.
Here we are with Benja Kremaski with some big news. He is signing a second contract, the first academy player to sign a second contract with Inter Miami. What does it mean to you as such a young guy to have come up through the academy, growing up in Key Biscayne, playing for this team with your boy town hero, Messi, and to be able to sign a second contract? What does it mean to you to be able to do that in your hometown?
It's an amazing feeling, obviously being the first homegrown to get a second contract, a contract extension. It means a lot. Hopefully more homegrowns could get their second contract, get a better one, and obviously stay in representing this city. You know, the city that I was born in, grew up in, is an honor. It's amazing to be able to stay a little longer here, and I'm super happy and proud about it.
And I'm sure that your parents must be happy. Can you just mention quickly, what is it like to be able to go home every day to mom and dad?
Good. It's amazing. Being home is amazing. Obviously, I don't know what being far from home feels like, but maybe one day it'll happen, and that's when I'm gonna appreciate it the most.
That's great to see. I mean, I know someone who covered high school sports down here, high school soccer down here for, over 15 years now, to see someone from down here make it big like this. And you, Michelle, your daughter played soccer down here, for Coral Reef, and nice to see a South Florida,
Absolutely. Just to see, I mean, this is a guy who, he goes home, he still hangs out with his friends from Key Biscayne. He said his friends are at Dade South Honors Program. They're at UM. They're at FIU. Yeah. He's still going to the same restaurants, hanging out with his buddies. And he said, my life, I did a profile on him that you can find on MiamiHerald.com, by the way. He said, it's interesting because my life has changed a lot. This kid is 19 years old, okay?
It's easy to forget.
Years old, yep. And he said, it's easy to forget. He's 19 years old. He's already played in the Olympics representing the United States. He was the youngest player on the U.S. Olympic team. He's playing for Inter Miami alongside Messi. This is an Argentine-American 19-year-old kid who was playing at Weston FC and playing in Key Biscayne Soccer Club. And now he's all of a sudden 2 years later, 3 years later, he's playing alongside Messi, Busquets, Alba, and Suarez, and playing on the U.S. Olympic team at 19 years old. That's a lot for a kid to handle. And, up until, when he first started, he had to have a ride to practice. Campana was giving him a ride to practice because he didn't have his license yet. So this guy is 19 years old, still hanging out with his buddies. And he said, it's interesting because when I'm at work, I have to act very mature and very professional. And I do. And I try to fit in with these men that are twice my age. Think about it. Leo Messi and Suarez are 37. He's 19. Literally, they're 1 year from being twice his age.
They could be his dad. They literally could be his dad.
He was 3 months old. He was 3 months old when Messi signed his first contract and with the first team of Barcelona. When Messi was 18, this kid was 3 months old. He was in the crib. So he's now playing alongside him. And he said, so on one hand, when I'm at work, I have to be really professional. However, when I'm back in Key Biscayne, I'm just a normal teenager in Key Biscayne with my friends, and we still go to the same place. I joked with him that I hope he at least picks up the tab because now he's got a second contract and his friends are at like Miami, Dade, and FIU, and he's over there making pretty serious coin for a 19-year-old. Right. So, but anyway, really nice kid from a great family of athletes themselves. His father was on the national rugby team of Argentina. His mother was a very talented field hockey player. He has a lot of sports in his genes, and he has a bright future. I'll end one last thing about him is he was asked at the training this morning, Tuesday morning, he was asked, what about your future as a jump to Europe? Is that in your near future or far future or medium future? He said a jump to Europe is definitely his goal. And he said, who knows, maybe after next year or maybe sometime next year. He has had interest from teams in Germany in particular. And he said he would love to play in Italy and Spain. Those would be his first two choices, but he would take any team in Europe. And, I think they signed him to a new contract, which he deserved. He was making $110,000. Which is only $30,000 over the minimum wage. So now they've elevated him to a more valuable player, which means that when they sell him, when and if they sell him, he will be more valuable to the club because they will make more money by selling him. So, it's a business. As much as we love the homegrown story, his goal, and as much as he loves Key Biscayne and living with mom and dad, and they still do his laundry and everything, but his goal is to get over to Europe, and I believe he will.
Yeah, that'd be great to see. Great to see him further his career on the international stage. I mean, just beginning, 19 years old. Like you said, I mean, he hasn't even turned 20 yet. It's just amazing how fast and how quickly he's been able to really succeed and to see the homegrown star do that. But
he may get. I want to say one more thing about him.
Yeah.
And a couple other. He may get a chance to. I think he will have a chance. And he was talking as if, hey, those of the rest of us who didn't start last game, we have to be ready now. Blah blah blah. The way he was talking, I was getting the sense that he is going to play more minutes against Atlanta. That's just the vibe that I was getting. And I wanted to point out that they are going to be with a makeshift back line for sure, because they're going to be missing, like we mentioned before, Noah Allen is going to be out. Aviles is going to be out. Busquets is going to be out. All these guys are going to be out. And so who's going to be available is going to be Ian Frey, Franco Negri, Ryan Saylor, and Christoph. And one thing that Tata mentioned that we haven't really talked much about Christoph because he hasn't really played that much lately. Tata was asked about that he hasn't played much. And he said that we have to remember what he's going through with the war in Ukraine. He is from Ukraine. He has family still there. And Tata said that he has been distracted. It's very understandable what he is dealing with on a personal level that affects a player on the field, because, it's difficult to focus when you have loved ones who are literally in the middle of a very serious war. So that is something that, we sometimes overlook, the personal issues that players face. But this is a guy whose family is in Ukraine. He was able to escape to be here, but it's difficult for him. And that apparently has affected his ability to focus.
Yeah, we hope for the best for him and his family for sure in that very tough situation, both, for him and over there as well. But Michelle, let's wrap this episode up. Let's talk about that. We had mentioned before, seemingly comfortable lead right now in the Supporter Shield race. 6 games left right now. Inter Miami leading by 10 points, 10 whole points over Cincinnati in the Eastern Conference, 7 whole points over the LA Galaxy. So a chance this week, if they can win both of these games and they get those 6 points, we're very close. Maybe only a couple of weeks.
Well, I have the magic number. I did the math.
Clinching scenarios for the Supporter Shield. And yes, you said the math.
I have the magic number.
Okay.
Did the math. The magic number is 10. They need 10 points over the next left. 6 games.
Gotcha.
If they get 10 points, they are guaranteed to finish on top, even if the rest of the teams win the rest of their games. In the worst case scenario, if LA Galaxy, Cincinnati, Crew, and LAFC win out all of their games, which is highly unlikely, but if all those teams were to win all of their games, Miami still finishes ahead of them with 10 points because Miami has 62. So if they get 10, they would finish with 72. The maximum that the LA Galaxy can get is 70. The maximum that Cincinnati can get is 70. The maximum that the Crew can get is 71. And the maximum that LAFC can get is 69. So the closest that anyone could get would be the Crew with 71. So if Inter Miami gets to 72, which is 10 points in the next 6 games, they are guaranteed to be the first place team, number 1. That means that they get home field advantage. Yes, go ahead, Andre.
I have a question, Professor Kaufman. What happens in the unlikely scenario that the Crew and the Crew and Inter Miami both finish 71 points? The tiebreaker is wins.
That's an excellent question.
Wins or head to head? I hope for that. Well, if it's head to head, Inter Miami's in trouble.
Wins. No, in the past it's been wins. The past it's been wins. Okay. Yes, head to head would be an issue, and they head to head would be an issue, and they play again. Yeah. It's I believe we need to look that up. And we will look that up for the next episode.
Usually, international play is wins usually, or well, then they get into goal differential, which is not the case here. But I think wins is usually.
Yeah, and sometimes it's goals scored too. If it's goals scored, they're golden because they've scored more goals, and they're way ahead in goals scored.
13 goals more than Columbus, and I'm looking it up right now. 8 goals more than the LA Galaxy.
And how many more wins? How many more wins?
The Galaxy have 16 victories right now, and so does Cincinnati. Those are the 2 closest teams, and that still trails Inter Miami's 19 wins overall by 3 wins. So There you have it.
Okay. All right. The last thing I'll say before we wrap up really quick is the all-time record in MLS for points in a season is the Revolution in 2021, 73 points. So if they reach 73, they will also tie the record for most points ever. And we'll wrap it up with that. We're going to take another sip.
one last one for the road.
One last sip for the road.
Yeah.
So a lot. We've unpacked a lot here in these 35 minutes.
It's got a kick to it. Like you said, it's bitter, but it's got like a little afterward, if you're not used to it. I guess it's probably because we're not used to it. I'm not used to it, at least. I'm not.
Right.
But better than I thought. But yeah, let's we will be back next week to recap not one, but both games for Inter Miami as this final stretch of regular season. As we count it down, we get closer and closer to the playoffs. And we'll talk about Messi, Suarez, everybody, see how they did, and also bring you a look ahead to what's left over the final. By then, 4 games.
Right, it will be just 4 games left at that point. Yeah, exactly. Yes. So
Mercedes-Benz is all. Yeah, I was going to say Mercedes-Benz Stadium, always a packed, good atmosphere over there. They support Atlanta well, and with Messi there, of course, that place is going to be slammed and rowdy. So we'll see how it turns out. But for Michelle Kaufman, I'm Andre Fernandez. Thanks as always. Remember, you can catch us on MiamiHerald.com or on YouTube, or you can listen to us on iTunes, Spotify, you name it. If you're having some mate or not, we wish you well. We hope you enjoy that and the games this week. Until then, we'll see you next week on Inside Inter Miami.